Hello, social work with groups and families interventions. I just wanted to talk a little bit with you about the importance of understanding some key concepts as we discuss groups and social work. And one of the things that I want you to understand is that you have different kinds of groups that can involve social work: task groups, counseling groups, psychotherapy, community groups, counseling groups. It's a group of people that are coming together for some period of time. And in that, you're looking at 4 different phases that happen during the group. But before the group even begins, you are looking at the pre-group planning phase of group work. And that is, what is your reason for the group? What are you addressing? What is going to make the determination of who is involved in the group, who is not involved in the group? Do you have screening questions? Are you targeting a certain population or a certain phenomenon? What is going to happen as far as the length of time the group meets, how over a course of how many weeks or months, the time that the group meets, the place that the group meets? Is it a closed group, meaning that it starts and everybody is in the group for the duration until it ends? Or is it an open group where it's kind of cycling and people can just come in and enter and leave as it's up to them? What funding is needed for the group? What kind of marketing and materials are needed for the group time? So let's see. If you are talking to clients before they come into the group, it's going to be a good idea to know if there are certain conditions that they may have that would require outside counseling from group time on an individual basis. And also if anything is too severe to be a part of a group and that they need to start on an individual basis and later enter the group. And the first phase as you come into the group work is the forming. So there's forming, storming, norming, and adjourning. And when you think about storming, you picture these people all kind of coming into the group. They're getting to know each other. There's some formation that's occurring, right? People are starting to take on different roles in the group. There's going to be storming. That's the conflict period where, oh, the honeymoon's over. We know each other. Or maybe the storming happens before the forming. Usually I would think forming would happen first, but there could be somebody saying, I didn't want to be here and I'm going to object to everything. And there's going to be conflict in storming. The norming process is when you're going to interdependence with one another. You're agreeing on this is how our group functions. This is what's acceptable here. This is what is not okay. These are the expectations. Then the performing part is when the purpose of the group is actually happening and you're actually engaging in the work of the group. And then the adjourning part is the termination part. And a really huge piece of group work is to let mutual aid occur. And that happens when your group members can rely on each other's experiences to learn from, that they're actually giving advice to each other in one way or another. And really the therapist at that point is kind of a facilitator and isn't really the one providing a lot of the lesson and the material that the group is going to walk away with. It's going to be those relationships among group members that are helping them mutual aid. It's building their community. It's bringing that connectedness and communication with others, building healthy relationships and working together. So an example I can give you is when I was in my MSW internship and I had the opportunity to be in a relapse prevention group. It was court ordered. I had a guy who was struggling because he came out and had gotten into prison because of some mistakes that he made while consuming substances, and he had some addictions. And when he got out, he was telling the group that he was going to just do this and not go back to that because that's the drug that got him in trouble. And thankfully, my supervisor told me to just sit and listen and learn. And that's what I did. And I was just sitting there thinking, what are you talking about? Why are you going to start using again? In my brain, all these things are happening and I'm keeping my mouth shut. And what I saw happen was mutual aid, because some of the group members who had been there longer and had more experience to offer shared their stories and their testimonies about what did and didn't work for them to kind of guide that group member. And it did take some time, but it ended up being his decision on how he was going to handle his being out again in public and still having to go in for UAs and things. And but it didn't come from being forced on him. It was a choice that he made based on the mutual aid he received from group members. I hope that makes sense. So it really is a beautiful thing, and it's a huge piece of group work. If something comes up in group, which it will, you can ask individuals, can you stay after for a couple minutes? We can talk more about that. That way it's not consuming group time with individual work. You do have to always disclose again about suicide, homicide, safety issues that you might have to report. And I think it's a good idea if you have another person in the room who's able to take over the group and continue facilitating. If something huge comes up, if there's a really big disruption and people are feeling unsafe, it actually can also work in the group to your favor. If somebody does break one of the norms that are established, you can put it back to the group and say, how do people feel about this? So it can give the group an opportunity to make corrections and decide the correct way to move forward that feels best to them and makes the most sense to them. So yeah, those are just a few things I wanted to share with you about groups and my experience with group work. I think groups are fabulous. Getting together with many minds is always a wonderful opportunity, and I hope you enjoy your time in this class. I'll talk to you soon.